I wasn't expecting this in our earth science class. It's amazing.
These temperatures are enough to induce melting of the asteroid.
You're learning science, but at the same time you're learning and incorporate it into a totally different field.
Like you're talking about making a blog?
It has to be in connection with their name.
Can creating a virtual enterprise improve a student's understanding of science?
We had the pressure of learning the material in order to make our business successful.
Perhaps you can come up with ideas concerning enterprise and concerning these remarkable stones.
In virtual enterprise classrooms, students must use their developing scientific knowledge to create a business model for a virtual startup company.
After we do all this exploration, we could actually branch out to that as well.
Because we're just not some company trying to make money. It'll be backed by science.
I've already thought about a pitch that encapsulates everything we could be.
Students develop an idea for a venture, devise their mission and structure, then pitch it to a panel.
How are you going to attract your target market?
There's not a worse feeling than knowing that I'm not prepared.
Make me with those mineral ingredients a mafic rock.
Having the VE element gave you more of a desire to learn.
If you can dream it and you believe it, you can definitely do it. Take you from the ordinary to the extraordinary.
Meteorites are made of mixtures of metal and silicates and lots of chaotic mixture of stuff.
At Kingsborough Community College, students in an earth science class create a virtual enterprise by combining business skills with scientific knowledge.
And when it gets the water interacting with the feldspar, it makes clays.
I learned it with more fervor than I would have maybe independently.
You know, it has to be in connection with their name. It's part of their branding.
Today, students research locations for meteorite expeditions
In Saudi Arabia, their laws are a lot stricter, like already hitting a wall.
and find government regulations must be considered and ethical concerns discussed.
So that's a huge liability to have a customer get swindled by a random person.
It comes down to business. We want these corporations to give us as much money as possible.
I think it's better to just contribute the meteorite to science.
So what's it going to be? What are you going to call yourself?
My thought was shooting star. It seems like that's not gonna work, which is okay.
I liked shooting stars at first, but after today, I think I realized that it was a little too fluffy.
Completely ridiculous. I hated shooting stars. It just sounded ridiculous. It sounds so stupid.
Like the public schools, we're the ones funding it to some extent, or we have the corporations funding it. So it works for them because it's kids that normally wouldn't be able to do this, but they wished on a shooting star.
That's like such a stretch, David. You know it's a stretch.
Something's gonna have to change for them to accept that as the name. It's just not doing it right now.
We have to focus on like an action word, like what we're gonna be doing. The name of our company is Stellar Missions, bringing you from the ordinary to the extraordinary. And that's our tagline.
I really like it. I think it's very appealing. It's catchy.
This is not that important to me, so it's like I don't mind them taking that and changing it up.
For today, we'll start using all our descriptive skills of our minerals, igneous rocks and sedimentary rocks. Let's start with some felsic minerals.
This is K-felspar.
Good. Content area that they've been drawing on for their business, yeah, sure, they absolutely know that inside out, but maybe that means we haven't spent as much time on some of the details of metamorphic geology or structural geology. Make me with those mineral ingredients a mafic rock and a felsic rock.
I've always loved science, so having the VE element incorporated with the science gave you more of a desire to learn.
Quartz is right in front of your arm.
This one. These were the two that we had trouble with.
They were hard to make a decision.
Yeah.
What controls the name we give the rock with regards to its texture?
Like extrusive or intrusive.
Exactly, great. So what are the two minerals that are going to be associated with our mafic igneous rocks?
Pyroxene.
Pyroxene's one of them, great. And the other one that we can confuse it with sometimes is?
Amphibole.
Amphibole, exactly. What minerals are missing?
Oh, the ones that make up meteorites.
The mafic mineral.
All the mafic minerals are missing, aren't they? Okay? Now, why is that? Because it really gets at the problem, at one of the challenges with collecting meteorites. If you don't collect it right away, then what happens?
Disintegrate.
It disintegrates, exactly. So that's why we need to get meteorites as quickly as possible, which is really directing us as to where we have to collect. It's why we can only collect in these arid kind of area.
We did the science portion of it, tying it up with meteorites and where they come from.
One of the reasons why the Nullarbor Plain in Australia would be a good place to collect meteorites is because a lot of the geology, same in Oman, is these white limestone rocks. Okay? And that's one of the common things that the good collecting areas for meteorites often have, is this really white base rock. Today was a really good chance for the students to look at all the rock types, all the mineral types they've been studying so far, and remind themselves that there is a bigger picture as to what they're studying. Use your laptop. Come over here. The collection and trade of meteorites is a very exclusive thing, so the research is sort of challenging.
I had no idea where meteorites were found or where they land or anything like that.
Legislation means that meteorites are the property of the government and must be lodged with an appropriate museum.
I actually thought that it would be kind of like a free market. You find it, it's kind of like yours, and you can kind of do anything you want with it, which is actually not the truth. These meteorites that they recently found, they kept for themselves. And so it was used for an exhibition. We wanted to do really exotic locations like Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. Come to find out, they have a lot more stricter laws. They probably wouldn't want us to take their meteorites.
That's some good research then. That changes things. As soon as you mention going to other nations, foreign countries, developing nations, and talking about valuable commodities, then they realise that there's a potential issue there, I think. So really they quite quickly had recognised there might be some ethical concerns around collecting and trade of meteorites. At the very beginning, you didn't just see the science content, you could pick that there was some issue at work with how we get these amazing stones, that they had a value, and you know that when anything's got a value, then there's a bunch of other issues.
The ethical dilemma is like what we would do if one CEO wanted to pay $10,000 for a meteorite and one researcher from a university wanted that same sample. Which would we go with?
Just by looking at it, you can't tell the value, and that we need to just, and if you want something really valuable, then we'd have to take it to the lab and just make sure that it is.
If the researcher's all excited about this one piece, because it's that rare gem, and you don't tell the CEO, you kind of hope that you find another sample and the CEO gets excited about that sample.
No. No. What are we turning into? We're a meteorite monster now. What surprised me was actually David's answers.
I think in order to advance science, we have to make money.
Then I turned around and asked Hector, I was like, would you take the money for that meteorite? And he was like, yeah, why not? So I was just like, oh, he didn't even hesitate. It was just like, oh yeah, of course. You
can really uphold all ethical standards and just fail from a fiscal standpoint.
I was the only one that said that I think it's better to just contribute the meteorite to science as opposed to selling it to someone for a certain amount of money. I think it should be split like half and half. Some we can give to corporations and then some we should contribute to research.
You don't necessarily need the meteorite if you know that it's being donated to the scientific community.
Right.
90% 3D model, 10% meteorite. So now we have a big sample, enough of the sample to give to the science community, and then the corporation also gets their little piece of the meteorite.
David came up with a 3D model idea. It would give them like 10%, and then the rest of it would be made of a 3D model. I think that was a good idea. I didn't think of that.
The outside's more just the fusion crusted texture, so a 3D model can represent the outside form perfectly well. And a cut slice could be exposed in one bit. Do you know what I mean? So you can have a section and something like that.
What if there is someone that really, really wants a real meteorite? They want the whole thing, and what if they're willing to pay any amount for it?
They're not going to really want it unless they know what they're actually looking at.
That's right, and unless that then becomes really valuable because they know it's important to somebody else. I don't know how this works.
Yeah, it's definitely important to establish some kind of like protocol, so what will we do in that situation. If you look at any real business, these are the issues that employees and employers are faced with.
Imagine if the whole meteorite industry turned on its head. Could stellar missions fill the gap? And would they be better at it than the way we do it existingly?
We would generate a lot more interest in the industry and in the venture in general than government organizations that perhaps solely do it for, academic reasons or for government reasons.
You should write that down. It's a really very, very cool. You basically just said your private company will do a better job of putting science in the hand of people than the government that the people pay to do science do. That's a big thing to say, So that's really it's quite exciting. It's a good thing to make a big deal about in a business plan. I'd probably never gone completely to the idea of a corporate-funded meteorite collection and acquisition, but the world is crying out for something very similar to what they are actually proposing. How might stellar missions sort of also do a better job of collecting samples in an ethical way, or a way that contributes to other people's lives?
We're going to build their economy and have the people that are kind of working for the black market working for us, and give them stability.
Essentially make them part of our team. They know the terrain and they know where to find the meteorites. And then that would kind of just eliminate the middlemen from them. You know, there's a lot of people that go to those places to buy it from them, and they don't get as much of the value. They get a lot less than after all the work that they put in to find them. It's an honor system that if you find this meteorite, or if someone finds this meteorite, like, they're not going to take it for themselves.
I feel like that can be worked out by just a vetting process.
They might have a couple samples in their house to keep our company afloat. They're either putting them out there, or they're trying to sell them to the clients.
Is that what you want?
Huh?
You want them to bring the meteorites from their house?
I mean,
and then
no.
throw them on the ground?
That's not what we want. But it wouldn't be a bad thing.
But we're going on the basis that the meteorite isn't guaranteed.
The likelihood of finding a really low quality meteorite in this location is pretty likely, right?
It's pretty likely.
It's like we'll have an asterisk next to guaranteed.
And as long as guarantee's on there, it sounds good. It's just guaranteed. It rings a bell. It rings up. Oh my God, there's a guarantee there.
We guarantee that there's a 50% chance.
There you go.
We need to figure out what to do if anything like this happens. We haven't come to an agreement over the policy, but we came to the agreement that we need to have one.
I think the easiest way to do it is to have a rule, one way or the other.
What are you looking for?
From you, as a startup, we'd be getting these investments, and so how much to ask from them, that kind of thing.
Okay, that's fair. This was the day where we tackled the most new subject matter, getting a clearer vision of what stellar missions is all about.
I'm kind of doing locations and finding out rules you may need to follow when we're there.
And you have to guarantee them 24 people for the package.
David is compiling a list of potential companies that we can make this pitch to.
Basically see who are our potential customers and see how much profit are we actually going to see from these customers.
I found package deals. That's what I'm looking at.
Hector is kind of figuring out the numbers, a solidified package, so we know exactly what to advertise. We decided on Sweden and Chile.
And what did you choose for domestic?
We could either do California, Arizona, or Texas. We figured, as opposed to going to exploring new territory, it would be a lot easier where meteorites already have been found to go to those places. Next time that we meet, we're going to be pitching our ideas. I'm nervous about it, just about how it'll be received. It is nerve-wracking.